Patience had once felt the warmth of Solomon's love. He would shower her with compliments, calling her beautiful, graceful, and full of life. They were a happy couple, even after their marriage. But everything changed when Patience found out she was pregnant. At first, Solomon seemed thrilled. He held her close, whispered sweet words, and promised to be there every step of the way. But as her body started to change, so did Solomon. Patience noticed the way his eyes would linger on her differently. His compliments turned into complaints. "You're gaining weight, Patience," he would say, his voice cold. "You are not the same anymore." Patience, overwhelmed with the changes happening in her body, tried to brush it off. "It's just the pregnancy, Solomon. I'm carrying 2 babies," she would explain, trying to make him understand. She hadn't expected how challenging the pregnancy would be, but she was doing her best. When the twins were born, everything became harder. She was exhausted, trying to care for the 2 babies without any help. Solomon's mother refused to come and assist her, saying she didn't support their marriage, and Patience had no family to turn to. She felt alone in a world full of people. One evening, as Patience looked at her reflection in the mirror, she sighed. Her stomach had stretch marks now, and her face felt bare without makeup. She longed for her old self. "I look so different," she said to herself, rubbing her tired eyes. Solomon walked into the room and glanced at her, his face twisted with disappointment. "You look ugly now, Patience," he said, his voice harsh. "You have let yourself go. Look at your stomach. Those marks. And no makeup? You don't even try anymore." Patience's heart sank. "I have just had twins, Solomon. It's not easy. I don't have anyone to help me. I'm doing everything I can for our girls. And your mother has refused to come over." But Solomon didn't listen. His frustration poured out, cutting her deeply. "Don't talk about my mother. She's not your problem," he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. "You only have 2 babies. Look at yourself. You're nothing like the woman I married. You're ugly now." Patience's eyes filled with tears. She didn't know what had happened to the man she had once loved. The man who used to tell her she was beautiful now saw her as nothing but someone who had failed him. She wanted to scream, to tell him that she was struggling, that it wasn't easy to be a new mother with no support. But instead, she stayed silent. Every day felt harder. Patience started to lose herself in the whirlwind of motherhood. She could no longer remember the woman she had once been, the woman who smiled brightly, laughed without care, and felt beautiful in her own skin. Instead, she became someone she barely recognized. One day, as she was feeding the twins, Patience heard a knock on the door. She wondered who it could be. She had no friends nearby, and Solomon was always working. She wiped her tears quickly, stood up, and opened the door. To her surprise, it was her neighbor, Mrs. Johnson. The older woman smiled warmly. "I thought you might need some help," she said, her eyes kind. "I've made some food for you and thought I could lend a hand with the babies. You have been through so much, Patience." Patience felt a rush of gratitude, and for the first time in a long while, she felt like someone cared. She let Mrs. Johnson inside, and they sat together, talking about the struggles of being a mother. Meanwhile, Solomon arrived home, and when he saw Mrs. Johnson, his face darkened. "Why is she here?" he demanded, his voice cold. "She's helping me, Solomon," Patience replied quietly, "something you've refused to do." Solomon's eyes narrowed. "I don't need her help, and you don't need to be asking for it. Get your act together, Patience." But Patience was tired. She was tired of trying to please him, of feeling like she wasn't enough. For the first time, she found the strength to stand up for herself. "I can't keep living like this, Solomon," she said firmly. "I'm doing my best. I'm a mother now. I'm tired, but I'm trying. If you can't see that, then maybe you're the one who has changed, not me." The silence in the room was thick. Solomon did not say anything, but Patience could see the conflict in his eyes. The next morning, Patience woke up feeling more tired than usual. The twins had kept her up most of the night, crying and needing to be fed. Her body ached, and her heart felt heavy after the argument with Solomon. She decided to do something she hadn't tried in a while. Call Solomon's mother. Maybe, just maybe, she thought, his mother could talk to him or even agree to help her with the twins. Patience had always hoped to build a good relationship with her mother-in-law, even though she knew the woman had never liked her. She dialed the number with shaky hands, her heart pounding in her chest as the phone rang. "Hello?" came the sharp voice on the other end. "Good morning, Ma," Patience said softly, trying to sound respectful. "It's me, Patience." There was a long pause, then came a curt reply. "What do you want?" Patience swallowed the lump in her throat. "I wanted to ask if you could please talk to Solomon. Things have been really hard since the twins arrived. I'm struggling to take care of them on my own, and I was hoping you might come over to help me. I know it's not easy, but I really need support right now." The silence that followed was cold and suffocating. Finally, Solomon's mother spoke, her words like venom. "Help you," she hissed. "I told Solomon not to marry you, but he refused to listen. Why would I help an orphan who killed her own parents? You're nothing but bad luck, Patience. A witch." Patience froze. Her heart felt like it had stopped beating. "What?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "Ma, I have done nothing but love your son and respect you. Why would you say such things about me?" Solomon's mother laughed bitterly. "You think I don't know who you are? Your kind brings nothing but sorrow. I lost my husband because of you. I will never step foot in that house, and the earlier you understand that, the better. I don't like you, Patience, and I never will." Patience's eyes filled with tears. She clutched the phone tightly, desperate to make her case. "Ma, I've always tried to please you. I've done nothing wrong. All I want is for us to have peace. I'm not a witch, and I didn't kill my parents. Please, I'm begging you. I need your help." But the older woman wasn't moved. "You can beg all you want, but it won't change a thing. I told you I wasn't in support of this marriage, and I never will be. You are on your own, Patience." With that, she hung up, leaving Patience staring at the phone, the sound of the call ending echoing in her ears. Patience dropped the phone and slumped onto the couch, tears streaming down her face. Her sobs filled the empty room, and her heart ached like never before. "What have I ever done to deserve this?" she whispered, her voice cracking. "I have tried so hard to be a good wife, a good mother, and a good daughter-in-law. Why does she hate me so much?" She wished her parents were still alive. They would have held her, comforted her, and told her everything would be okay. But they were gone, taken from her in a car accident when she was just a teenager. She had spent her life longing for their love and guidance, and now when she needed them the most, they weren't there. Patience cried for what felt like hours. The twins stirred in their crib, their tiny whimpers pulling her back to reality. Wiping her tears, she stood up and walked over to them. She picked them up, one by one, holding them close to her chest. "I will be strong for you," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Even if the world is against me, I will fight for you both. You are my joy, my reason to keep going." That evening, Patience was sitting quietly in the living room when she heard the front door open. Solomon walked in, laughing loudly, followed by a tall, elegant woman. The woman's bright red dress fit her perfectly, and her makeup was flawless. Her smile lit up the room as she glanced around confidently. Solomon noticed Patience and immediately spoke up. "Oh, Candy, meet Patience," he said with a casual grin. "She's my cousin. Poor thing, her husband chased her out of the house because she gave birth to girls instead of boys." Patience's heart sank. She stared at Solomon in disbelief, her lips trembling. Cousin? Girls instead of boys? Her mind raced, but she forced a small, polite smile. Candy extended her hand. "Oh, Patience, nice to meet you. I can't imagine what you must be going through," she said sweetly. Patience shook her hand weakly. "Nice to meet you too," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Solomon didn't wait for further conversation. "Candy will be staying with us for a while," he said nonchalantly, as if this was the most normal thing in the world. He turned back to Candy with a wide smile. "Come, baby, let me show you to your room," he said, completely ignoring Patience's hurt expression. He led Candy down the hallway, chatting and laughing as if nothing was wrong. Patience stood frozen in the living room, her fists clenched at her sides. Her thoughts were spinning, her heart aching. Patience turned and stormed into the kitchen, her hands trembling. How dare he? How could he lie so blatantly in their own home? Minutes later, Solomon walked into the kitchen, whistling as if he hadn't just shattered her dignity. He opened the fridge to grab a drink, but before he could leave, Patience stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "Solomon," she said, her voice low but firm. "What is the meaning of this?" "What's your problem?" he replied, not even looking at her. "Why did you introduce me to that woman as your cousin?" Patience asked, her voice trembling with a mix of hurt and anger. And why would you lie that my husband chased me out because I gave birth to girls? What are you trying to do? Solomon finally looked at her, raising an eyebrow. Candy is my guest, he said simply. What does it matter how I introduced you? Don't embarrass yourself by making this a big deal. Patience felt her anger rise. A big deal? You brought another woman into our home, lied about who I am, and you're acting like it's nothing? Solomon sighed and leaned on the counter, his face hardening. If you must know, Candy is my girlfriend. He stared at her, daring her to react. She's everything you're not, beautiful, fashionable, and classy. Patience's voice broke as tears filled her eyes. Your girlfriend? In our house? Solomon, how could you do this to me? Solomon shrugged, his tone cold. If you don't like it, you're free to leave. Take your daughters and go. Patience stared at him, stunned. Leave? You know I have nowhere to go, Solomon. You stopped me from working, remember? I don't have any money, any family. This family is all I have. Solomon scoffed. You think I'm the problem? You've given me nothing but daughters. I've always wanted a son, Patience. What use are girls to me? Patience's anger boiled over. How dare you blame me? It's what you put in me that I gave birth to. I've given you everything, Solomon, and this is how you treat me? You and your mother have done nothing but frustrate me. Don't you dare bring my mother into this, Solomon snapped, his voice rising. She's not your problem. You are your own problem. Patience shook her head, her tears falling freely. This is not the life you promised me. You said you would love and protect me. You said we would be a family. Solomon's eyes flashed with anger. Enough, Patience. If you want to stay in this house, you will keep quiet and mind your business. Don't push me. He stormed out of the kitchen, leaving Patience standing there, broken and overwhelmed. She wiped her tears, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. When Solomon entered the guest room, Candy was already sitting on the edge of the bed, flipping through her phone. She looked up and smiled at him. What kept you so long? She asked sweetly. Oh, nothing important, Solomon said quickly, brushing off the question, just sorting a few things. Candy tilted her head. I hope your cousin isn't a problem. She looks rough. Her tone carried a hint of mockery. Solomon chuckled. Don't worry about her. Patience knows her place. She'll do whatever I ask her to do. He leaned against the doorframe, crossing his arms. In fact, if you need anything tomorrow while I'm at work, just let her know. She has no choice but to help you. Candy's eyes sparkled mischievously. Are you sure she won't complain? She doesn't seem happy about me being here. She won't dare, Solomon said firmly. Patience knows better than to argue with me. If you need food, errands run, or anything else, just tell her. That's why she's here. Candy laughed lightly. You're really something, honey. It's nice to know you are in control. Solomon smiled. Always, baby. Now relax and make yourself at home. This is your place now. Meanwhile, Patience sat in the corner of the bedroom she shared with her daughters, tears streaming down her face. She could hear Solomon and Candy laughing from the guest room, their voices loud enough to remind her of her pain. Her twins, now asleep beside her, were the only comfort she had left. She gently stroked their soft cheeks and whispered, I'm sorry, my loves. Mummy will figure this out. But deep inside, Patience felt trapped. Solomon's betrayal, his harsh words and his cruel actions weighed heavily on her heart. She wiped her tears, determined to survive for the sake of her daughters. The next morning, Solomon left for work early. Patience was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when she heard Candy's voice behind her. Hey, Patience, Candy said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. I need you to go to the supermarket and get me a few things. Solomon said you're here to help, so make yourself useful. Patience looked up, her expression calm but firm. Are you okay? What about my girls? Who's going to watch them while I'm running around for you? Candy rolled her eyes. That's your business, not mine. My baby said you should do whatever I ask. If you don't like it, maybe you should think about leaving his house. Patience snapped. She stood up, holding the spoon in her hand. Listen, Candy, I am not your maid, and I won't be running around doing errands for you. If you need something, you can go get it yourself. Candy's face turned red with anger. How dare you talk to me like that? Solomon will hear about this. She stormed out of the kitchen and into her room, slamming the door behind her. Minutes later, Candy was on the phone with Solomon. her voice loud and full of fake tears. "Baby, can you believe what your so-called cousin just said to me? I asked her to help me and she insulted me. She said she's not my maid and refused to go to the supermarket." Solomon's voice on the other end was sharp. "What? She said that? Don't worry, Candy. I will deal with her when I get home. She's getting out of control." Candy smiled as she ended the call, feeling victorious. Meanwhile, Patience sat back down, her heart heavy with frustration. She barely had time to collect her thoughts when the doorbell rang. She got up to answer it and found Mrs. Johnson standing there with a concerned look on her face. "Patience, what's going on?" Mrs. Johnson asked as she stepped inside. "You sounded upset when we spoke last night. Tell me everything." Patience sighed and led Mrs. Johnson to the living room, explaining everything. Solomon bringing Candy into the house, introducing her as his girlfriend, and now expecting her to take orders from Candy. Mrs. Johnson's face darkened with anger. "What? He brought another woman into your home, and now she's bossing you around? I can't believe this." She stood up abruptly. "Where is she? I will teach her a lesson." Patience quickly grabbed Mrs. Johnson's arm, shaking her head. "No, please don't. I will handle it. I don't want any more drama." Mrs. Johnson sighed heavily but sat back down, fuming. "Patience, I won't lie to you. You've made this too easy for Solomon. You see why I told you to get a job. If you were working, he wouldn't dare treat you like this. He knows you have nowhere to go, and he's taking advantage of that." Patience looked down, tears filling her eyes. "But he asked me to stop working. He said he wanted me to focus on our family." Mrs. Johnson shook her head. "And you agreed? Oh, Patience, love is a beautiful thing, but it can also blind you. Now you see the truth. Men are not to be trusted completely. As a woman, you need to have something of your own, something no one can take away from you. You need to stand on your own 2 feet. Patience wiped her tears and nodded slowly. "You're right, Mrs. Johnson. I see it now. But what do I do? I feel so trapped." Mrs. Johnson leaned forward, gripping Patience's hand tightly. "You start by standing up for yourself. Don't let Candy walk all over you, and don't let Solomon think he can control you forever. You have your daughters to fight for. You're stronger than this." Patience took a deep breath, her heart aching but her resolve hardening. "I will try. I will figure out a way." Just then, Candy walked into the living room, her expression smug. "Oh, I see you have company. Don't let me interrupt your little gossip session," she said with a fake smile. Mrs. Johnson's eyes flashed with anger, but Patience grabbed her arm again. "It's okay, Mrs. Johnson. Let her say whatever she wants. I will deal with her." Mrs. Johnson stood up, glaring at Candy. "Patience, you are too kind for your own good. If it were me, I'd throw her out. But I will respect your wishes. Just know I'm here if you need me." As Mrs. Johnson left, Candy twisted her lips at Patience. "What's wrong? Did you tell your little friend about me?" "Too bad she can't help you." Patience took a deep breath, her hands trembling. "Candy, enjoy this while you can. It won't last forever." Candy laughed and walked away. That evening, Solomon stormed into the house, slamming the door shut behind him. Candy sat on the couch, looking smug, her legs crossed as she waited for him. "Baby," she said sweetly, "you won't believe what happened while you were at work. That Mrs. Johnson came by again, acting all high and mighty. I think she's the one giving Patience the courage to disrespect you. She was here for a long time, probably filling Patience's head with nonsense." Solomon's jaw tightened, his fists clenching. "Is that so?" he muttered. "I will deal with her once and for all." Candy smiled, her confidence boosted now that she had fueled his anger. Solomon headed straight for the kitchen, where Patience was stirring a pot of soup on the stove. The delicious aroma filled the air, but it did nothing to calm his rising temper. He stopped at the doorway, glaring at her. "So Mrs. Johnson was here again today. Is she the one teaching you to be disrespectful?" Patience looked up, startled by his sudden presence. "Mrs. Johnson came to see me as a friend. What's wrong with that?" Solomon stepped closer, his voice dripping with venom. "What's wrong is that she's filling your head with foolish ideas. She's fooling you into thinking you have a say in this house. Look at you, standing there, acting like you matter." Patience's hands tightened around the spoon she was holding, her heart pounding in her chest. "Solomon, I have told you before, Mrs. Johnson is my friend. She came to support me because, unlike you, she actually cares about what I'm going through." Solomon let out a bitter laugh. "Going through? What exactly are you going through? You've turned into an ungrateful woman. Look at yourself, stretch marks all over your stomach, no makeup, no effort. You've let yourself go completely. And now you think you can stand there and talk back to me." Patience felt the heat rise in her cheeks, a mix of anger and humiliation. She pointed the spoon at him. "You're unbelievable, Solomon. You brought another woman into our home and you expect me to be okay with it. You're nothing but a manipulative fool, just like your mother." The mention of his mother made Solomon snap. His face twisted with rage as he raised his hand and slapped Patience hard across her cheek. The sound echoed through the kitchen and Patience stumbled back, holding her face in shock. For a moment there was silence, the air thick with tension. Patience's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She straightened herself, her voice trembling but firm. "You've changed, Solomon. This isn't the man I married. You promised to love and protect me, but all you've done is hurt me. You've turned into someone I don't even recognize." Solomon sneered. "And you've turned into a failure. You're lucky I even let you stay here. If it weren't for the twins, I would have thrown you out a long time ago." Patience's chest tightened, but she refused to back down. "You're a coward, Solomon. You hide behind your mother and that woman in the living room. But one day you will regret all of this." He took a step closer, his voice low and threatening. "Don't test me, Patience. You're walking on thin ice." At that moment, a soft cry came from the twins' room. The sound broke the tension, reminding Patience of her strength. She turned away from him, wiping her tears quickly, and walked out of the kitchen toward her daughters. Solomon stood there, his chest heaving with anger, but somewhere deep down, a flicker of guilt tugged at him. He shook it off, storming back to the living room, where Candy sat, pretending not to have heard anything. Patience, meanwhile, sat in the twins' room, holding her girls close. She whispered softly to them, more to herself than to them. "One day we will be free from this, I promise you." Her tears fell silently, but in her heart a fire was growing. She wasn't going to let Solomon or anyone else break her completely. For her daughters, she would find a way to rise again. The next morning, Solomon woke up still seething with anger. After getting dressed in his sharpest suit, he left the house without a word to Patience or even Candy. He had one destination in mind, Mr. Johnson's house. When Solomon arrived, Mr. Johnson was in the garden, pruning some flowers. He looked up and saw Solomon approaching, his face tense with irritation. Mr. Johnson set down his clippers and folded his arms. "What do you want, Solomon?" Mr. Johnson asked, his tone calm but firm. Solomon didn't waste time. "I'm here to warn you about your wife. She has no business meddling in my family matters. Tell Mrs. Johnson to stay away from Patience and my home. She's filling Patience's head with lies and making her more disrespectful. She needs to mind her own business." Mr. Johnson raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Oh, so now you think my wife is the problem? Let me tell you something, Solomon. The only problem in your home is you." Solomon's fists clenched. "Watch your words, Mr. Johnson. You don't know what's happening in my house." Mr. Johnson took a step closer, his voice dripping with disappointment. "I don't need to know every detail, Solomon. It's obvious. You're not man enough to handle your responsibilities. You bring another woman into your house while your wife is raising your children. Do you even hear how ridiculous you sound? Look at me, 10 years of marriage, and I've never disrespected my wife like that. A real man doesn't act the way you do." Solomon's face turned red with anger. "You don't know anything about my life, so don't lecture me." Mr. Johnson shook his head, a look of disgust on his face. "You're nothing but a foolish mummy's boy, Solomon, always running to your mother instead of solving your own problems. When are you going to grow up and be a real man?" The words stung, hitting Solomon like a slap across the face. He pointed an accusing finger at Mr. Johnson. "You'd better warn your wife to stay out of my business, or I will make sure she regrets it." Mr. Johnson laughed coldly. "Get out of my house, Solomon. You're not worth another minute of my time." Solomon stormed off, slamming the gate behind him. As he got into his car, he was still fuming. He grabbed his phone and called his mother, gripping the steering wheel tightly as it rang. When she picked up, her voice was cheerful. "Solomon, my son, how are you?" Not good, Mama, he said angrily. You won't believe what just happened. Mrs. Johnson has been interfering in my marriage. And now her husband had the nerve to insult me. He called me a foolish mummy's boy and said I'm not man enough to have a family. His mother's cheerful tone quickly turned cold. What? That woman has gone too far. Don't worry, my son, I will handle this myself. I will come over tomorrow and put Patience in her place. She's the one allowing these people to insult you. Solomon sighed, a small smile creeping onto his face. Thank you, Mama. I knew I could count on you. His mother continued, her voice sharp. Patience needs to understand that this is our family, and if she doesn't like it, she can leave. I have never liked that girl anyway. She's ungrateful and unworthy of you. I agree, Mama, Solomon said, his confidence growing. I will be waiting for you tomorrow. As he hung up, Solomon felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. In his mind, he believed his mother would set everything right. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered that things were spiraling out of control. The following morning, Solomon's mother arrived at the house with an air of authority. She went straight to the kitchen, where Patience was cooking food for the family. The smell of soup filled the air, but Solomon's mother didn't care. Patience, she shouted. Patience turned around. Good morning, Mama, she said, trying to be polite. Don't call me Mama, Solomon's mother said angrily. Look at you, fat, ugly and useless. Is this what a wife should look like? My son made the biggest mistake by marrying you. Patience's heart hurt, but she tried to stay calm. Mama, I don't know what I did to make you hate me so much. I try my best. I cook, I clean, and I take care of my children. Your best is not good enough, Solomon's mother shouted. You are a shame to this family. Look at your body, full of stretch marks, no makeup, always in the kitchen. My son deserves a better wife than you. Patience took a deep breath, trying to hold back her tears. Mama, I have done nothing wrong. I take care of this house and my children. I don't know why you dislike me so much. I don't like you because you are nothing. Solomon's mother screamed. I told my son not to marry you. You have no family, no class, and no beauty. If you can't live here quietly, you should leave this house. Patience looked at her with tears in her eyes. Mama, I have nowhere to go. You know I don't have a family. This is my home too. Please don't make things harder for me. Solomon's mother slammed her hand on the kitchen counter. You are lucky I even walked into this house. If it were up to me, you'd already be gone. You don't belong here. Patience's hands started shaking. She was trying so hard to stay calm. Mama, I respect you because you are Solomon's mother. But if you keep insulting me, I will not stay silent. I have tried to be patient, but enough is enough. How dare you talk to me like that? Solomon's mother screamed and raised her hand. Before Patience could move, she slapped her across the face. Patience held her cheek, her face burning with pain. She looked at Solomon's mother, her voice shaking. You are lucky I have respect for elders. If not, you would regret this. But I will not let you break me. You think you can stand up to me? Solomon's mother shouted. You are nothing, Patience, nothing. Patience turned back to her pot, stirring the soup. Her tears fell silently into the food. I will not leave this house, she said softly. This is my home too, and I will not abandon my children. If you have a problem with that, talk to your son. Solomon's mother glared at her, breathing heavily. This is not over, she said before storming out of the kitchen. Patience stood there for a moment, holding the spoon tightly. Her cheek hurt, but she promised herself one thing. She would not give up. She had to stay strong for her daughters. Later that afternoon, Mrs. Johnson came to visit Patience. Patience was in the kitchen as usual, preparing lunch for the house. When Mrs. Johnson walked in, she called out, Patience, are you here? Patience wiped her hands on her apron and came out of the kitchen, smiling. Mrs. Johnson, welcome. How are you? I'm fine, my dear, Mrs. Johnson said with a warm smile. She looked at Patience closely. But you, Patience, you look tired. Are you okay? Patience sighed. I'm trying, Mrs. Johnson. The work in this house is too much. Cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the twins. But I am managing. Mrs. Johnson shook her head. That's why I'm here. I have good news for you. Patience looked at her with surprise. Good news? What is it? I found a job for you, Mrs. Johnson said with a big smile. It's at a small office not far from here. The pay is good and the work is not too hard. You can start next month if you want. Patience's eyes widened with joy. A job? Really? Oh, Mrs. Johnson, thank you. Thank you so much. Mrs. Johnson nodded. Yes, Patience, it's time for you to do something for yourself. Your twins are 6 months old now, so you can put them in a creche during the day. That way you can work and earn your own money. Patience felt a wave of relief. She had been feeling trapped in the house, with no money and no way to stand on her own. This is wonderful, Mrs. Johnson. I don't even know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet, Mrs. Johnson said, smiling. You have to talk to Solomon about it first. Patience's smile faded a little. Yes, I will have to tell him. I hope he will agree. Mrs. Johnson frowned. Why should he not agree? It's your life, Patience. You need to do what is best for you and your children. Patience nodded slowly. You are right. I can't keep living like this, depending on Solomon for everything. I will talk to him tonight. Good, Mrs. Johnson said firmly, and if he gives you trouble, call me. I will come and talk sense into him. Patience laughed softly, feeling a bit lighter for the first time in months. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. You are like a mother to me. I don't know what I would do without you. You are like a daughter to me, Patience, Mrs. Johnson said, and I want to see you happy and strong. Don't let anyone take away your happiness. Patience nodded, her heart filled with hope. For the first time, she felt like there was a way out of her struggles. She just had to find the courage to stand up for herself. That evening, Solomon returned home, looking tired and irritable. Patience quickly served him his dinner, placing the food on the table while he sat down. She hesitated, her heart pounding as she thought about how to bring up the job. After a moment, she took a deep breath and sat across from him. Solomon, I need to talk to you about something important, she said softly. He barely glanced at her as he started eating. What is it now, Patience? Patience clasped her hands together, trying to steady her nerves. Mrs. Johnson found a job for me. It's at a small office not far from here. I can start next month. Solomon stopped chewing and looked up, his face hardening. A job? Why would you need a job? Patience swallowed, her voice trembling. Solomon, I have been at home for so long. I need to do something for myself. The twins can go to a creche during the day, and I can start earning some money. It will help us. Solomon slammed his fork down on the table, making her jump. Help us? What do you mean by that? Don't I already provide everything you need? What more do you want, Patience? She looked at him, tears brimming in her eyes. Solomon, it's not just about money. I feel stuck. I need to do something meaningful, something that makes me feel like I'm more than just a servant in this house. A servant? Solomon sneered. You are my wife, Patience. Your job is to take care of this house and our children. Who will clean? Who will cook for me if you go running off to some job? Patience took a deep breath and looked at Solomon. Why are you saying who will clean and cook, Solomon? What is Candy here for then? She's been in this house for days now doing nothing. Why can't she help with something? Solomon's eyes darkened with anger. Candy? Are you out of your mind? Candy is too classy, too sophisticated to do any house chores. She's not like you, Patience. Patience stared at him, her heart sinking. Too classy to clean or cook. Yet you think it's okay to overwork me every day. I take care of this entire house. I care for our daughters, and now you expect me to continue like this while someone else sits and does nothing. Watch your tone, Patience, Solomon warned, pointing a finger at her. Don't compare yourself to Candy. She's not here to work. She's here because I want her here. You're the wife. This is your job. Patience's tears threatened to spill, but she forced herself to speak. I am not your maid, Solomon. I'm your wife. You promised me a happy life, but all you've given me is pain and stress. I deserve some respect, too. Solomon laughed, shaking his head. Respect? For what? Look at you, Patience. You can't even take care of yourself. You're lucky I haven't thrown you out of this house yet. Patience's heart broke at his cruel words. She clenched her fists, trying to keep her composure. You know what, Solomon? Keep treating me like I'm nothing. One day you'll regret it. He scoffed, turning away. The only thing I regret is marrying someone who can't understand her place. Do what I say, or you will have to leave. Patience watched him walk away, her chest tight with anger and sadness. She thought of her daughters, sleeping peacefully in the other room. She couldn't let them grow up in a house filled with so much hate. She wiped her tears and whispered to herself, This is not the life I prayed for, but I won't give up. I will find a way to stand on my own. The next morning, Patience sat on the edge of her bed, her heart heavy from the argument with Solomon the previous night. She felt trapped and hopeless, but she also remembered her quiet promise to herself to fight for a better life. She picked up her phone and dialed Mrs. Johnson's number. When her friend answered, Patience poured out everything that had happened, the insults from Solomon, his refusal to let her work, and the growing burden she was carrying. Mrs. Johnson listened patiently, and when Patience finished, her friend sighed deeply. "Patience," Mrs. Johnson said thoughtfully, "it's time you start thinking about what you can do for yourself. I've been telling you this for years. You're a fantastic cook. Why don't you start cooking for events or parties? People are always looking for someone to cater for them." Patience's heart raced with both excitement and doubt. "I don't know, Mrs. Johnson," she said hesitantly. "I don't have any connections or anyone to help me. How would I even start?" Mrs. Johnson's voice was firm. "Leave that to me. One of my friends is having a small birthday get-together next week. Just 15 guests. I'll tell her you can handle the food, but Patience, you have to promise me you won't disappoint. This could be your chance to start something great." Patience felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in weeks. "Of course, Mrs. Johnson, I can do it. My girls are already going to creche, so I'll have the time to focus on it. I won't let you down." True to her word, Mrs. Johnson spoke to her friend, who agreed to give Patience the catering job. Over the next few days, Patience worked tirelessly. She planned the menu, shopped for the ingredients, and prepared everything with care and love. Each night, after putting her daughters to bed, she stayed up late, perfecting every recipe. When the day of the party arrived, Patience delivered the food right on time. The aroma alone was enough to make mouths water. The guests began eating, and soon compliments filled the air. "Who made this jollof rice?" "It's the best I've ever tasted," one guest exclaimed. "The fried chicken is so crispy and flavorful," another added. Mrs. Johnson's friend beamed with happiness as she thanked Patience. "You've outdone yourself, Patience. This food is amazing. I'm going to tell everyone about you." Patience smiled, her heart swelling with pride. For the first time in a long time, she felt valued and appreciated. True to her word, Mrs. Johnson's friend spread the news about Patience's cooking. Soon, more people started calling her for small jobs, birthday parties, baby showers, and even small weddings. Patience threw herself into the work, balancing her new career with caring for her daughters. Each successful event brought her more recognition, and with the money she earned, Patience was able to buy a few things for herself and her children without relying on Solomon. One night, Solomon came home tired from work. As he settled into the living room, Candy sat beside him, her arms crossed and a sly smile on her face. "I thought you said you didn't want Patience to work," Candy said casually, glancing toward the kitchen where Patience was cleaning up. "Yes, I said so," Solomon replied. "She knows her place. She won't work." Candy leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Then why is she always cooking so much food? Every time I see her, she's making dishes in bulk. Don't you find that strange?" Solomon frowned. "She told me she's just helping out her friends for free. There's nothing to it." Candy shook her head, laughing softly. "You're too trusting, Solomon. Look at her. Haven't you noticed she's been dressing better lately? She's even wearing makeup. Someone who isn't earning money wouldn't be able to afford all that. I think she's lying to you." Solomon's face darkened. He sat up straight, her words stirring anger within him. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm saying you're so focused on me and your job that you're not paying attention. Patience is hiding something. I think she's secretly working and not telling you." Without another word, Solomon stormed into the kitchen. Patience was wiping down the counter when he barged in, his face red with anger. "Patience," he barked. "What's going on here? Are you lying to me?" Patience turned around, startled by his sudden outburst. "What are you talking about, Solomon?" "Don't play dumb," Solomon shouted. "Candy says you've been cooking a lot of food. You told me it's for your friends. But now I'm hearing you might be working behind my back. Is that true?" Patience took a deep breath, steadying herself. She knew the truth would only make things worse. "It's true, Solomon. I've been cooking for my friends, but I'm not getting paid for it. I'm just helping them out." Solomon's eyes narrowed. "Do you think I'm stupid? Look at how you're dressing these days. You think I wouldn't notice?" Where are you getting the money to buy new clothes if you're not working? Patience stood her ground. I've saved a little from the allowance you give me, Solomon. That's how I've been able to get a few things for myself. You're lying, Solomon shouted, slamming his hand on the counter. You're foolish, Patience. You're slaving away in the kitchen for people who don't even pay you. What kind of woman are you? Patience clenched her fists, holding back tears. I'm doing it because I love to cook, Solomon. It makes me happy, and it's the only thing keeping me sane in this house. You're an embarrassment, Solomon spat, laboring for free while I provide everything for you. You're pathetic. Patience looked at him, her eyes filled with hurt, but also determination. You can insult me all you want, Solomon, but I'm not doing anything wrong. If helping people makes me pathetic, then so be it. Solomon shook his head in disgust and stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind him. Patience leaned against the counter, tears streaming down her face. She felt humiliated and defeated. After Solomon left for work the next morning, Patience decided she'd had enough. She walked to Candy's room, knocked on the door, and stepped inside without waiting for an answer. Candy was lying on the bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, surprised. "What do you want?" she asked, her tone sharp. Patience folded her arms and stared at her. "I've had enough of this nonsense," she said firmly. "Let me tell you something, Candy. Solomon is my husband, not my cousin, as he told you." Candy's jaw dropped. "What are you talking about?" "You heard me," Patience said, her voice steady. "I'm not some distant cousin. I'm the woman he married, the mother of his children. You're nothing but a lazy gold digger who thinks she can take my place." Candy sat up, her face filled with shock and anger. "So Solomon lied to me," she whispered. Patience nodded. "Yes, he did. He lied to you just like he lies to everyone else. He brought you into my home, disrespected me, and expects me to stay quiet. Well, I won't anymore." Candy was furious. She grabbed her phone and called Solomon immediately. "You lied to me," she shouted as soon as he answered. "You told me Patience was your cousin. She just came here and told me the truth." Solomon, who was at work, froze. "Candy, calm down. Let me explain." "No, I don't want to hear it." Candy cut him off. "I'm done with you, Solomon. I'm leaving." "Wait, Candy," Solomon begged. "Please don't leave me. I love you." "If you love me," Candy said coldly, "then you'll do what I say. I want Patience out of that house today. If she stays, I'm gone." Solomon panicked. Okay, don't leave. I'll handle it." He left work early and rushed home. Patience was in the kitchen when he came in, his face dark with anger. "You have to leave," he said without even greeting her. Patience turned to him, unbothered. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about you leaving this house," Solomon said, his voice rising. "Candy doesn't want you here. She said if you stay, she'll leave me." Patience chuckled softly, shaking her head. "So now you're throwing me out for her, after everything I've done for you." "Just leave, Patience," Solomon snapped. "Take your girls and go. I don't want to hear anything else." Patience didn't beg him or argue. She had grown tired of his disrespect. "Fine," she said, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. "You'll regret this someday, Solomon. Mark my words." She packed her belongings, took her daughters, and left. Luckily, she had saved enough money from her cooking jobs, and with Mrs. Johnson's help, she was able to rent a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Over the next few weeks, Patience's life began to change. Word about her delicious cooking spread quickly, and she started getting contracts for bigger events. Weddings, birthday parties, and even corporate functions. Her calendar was soon fully booked. She worked tirelessly, but she was happy. With the growing demand, she even hired 2 assistants to help her with the cooking and deliveries. Her business grew faster than she had ever imagined. One evening, Mrs. Johnson visited her new apartment. "Look at you now," Mrs. Johnson said with a proud smile. "I told you, didn't I? You're strong, Patience. You don't need Solomon or anyone else to succeed." Patience smiled back, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for believing in me, Mrs. Johnson. I wouldn't have made it this far without you." As they sat together, Patience looked around her cozy apartment. It wasn't much, but it was hers. For the first time in years, she felt free. Meanwhile, back at Solomon's house, his mother decided to visit. She arrived in the afternoon and sat in the living room for hours without anyone offering her food or drink. She looked around, annoyed. Solomon wasn't home yet, and Candy was lounging in her room, scrolling through her phone. After waiting for a while, Solomon's mother got up and went to Candy's room. She knocked and entered, without waiting for a response. "Candy," she said, standing with her arms crossed, "I have been here for hours, and you haven't even bothered to cook for me. Is this how you behave?" Candy looked up from her phone and laughed mockingly. "Cook? For you? Why should I?" "Why should you?" Solomon's mother repeated, her voice rising. "When Patience was here, she would already be in the kitchen preparing something for me before I even asked. She respected me as her mother-in-law." Candy rolled her eyes. "Don't you ever compare me to that low-class woman again," she snapped. "I am not Patience, and I will never act like her. I am classy and don't do kitchen work like some housemaid." Solomon's mother's jaw dropped. "Classy," she said, her voice full of disbelief. "You call this class? Let me tell you something, Candy. Patience had real class. She could cook, clean, and had manners. She treated me with respect. But you're just a lazy gold digger." Candy stood up, furious. "Gold digger, how dare you? Listen, old woman, in my life, don't you ever compare me to Patience again. That woman is beneath me." Solomon's mother pointed a finger at her. "You have no shame, Candy. My son will hear about this. When Solomon comes home, I will tell him exactly what kind of woman you are." Candy laughed loudly. "Go ahead and tell him," she said, smirking. "Your foolish son won't believe you. Trust me, I control him now. He listens to me, not you." Solomon's mother shook her head in disgust. "You are unbelievable. Mark my words, Candy, your true colors will be exposed one day, and when that day comes, don't expect me to stand by you." Candy sat back down and picked up her phone, dismissing her with a wave of her hand. "Whatever. Close the door on your way out." Fuming, Solomon's mother stormed out of the room, muttering to herself, "My son made the biggest mistake of his life, bringing this woman into his home. She will ruin him. I can't wait for Solomon to come back." As she sat in the living room, she thought about Patience and how things had been different when she was in the house. Despite her past dislike for Patience, she couldn't deny that she had treated Solomon and his family with care and respect. Solomon's mother began to regret how she had treated Patience and wondered if her son would ever realize the mistake he had made. Solomon had just returned home after a long day at work, feeling tired and frustrated. As he stepped inside, the first person he saw was Candy, who was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Her eyes lit up when she saw him, but there was a certain coldness in her smile. Before Solomon could say anything, Candy quickly spoke up. "You won't believe what your mother did today," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "She came over and started talking badly about me, saying I'm not good enough for you. She's always been rude and disrespectful, honey. You know how much I love you." Solomon stormed into his mother's room, his face red with anger. His footsteps echoed through the house as he slammed the door behind him. His mother, who had been sitting calmly, looked up in surprise. "What's going on, Solomon?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Don't act like you don't know," Solomon shouted. "I have had enough of this. You're doing it again. You are trying to ruin everything for me, just like you did with Patience." His mother stood up, her face filled with confusion. "What are you talking about?" she asked. "I didn't do anything wrong." "Yes, you did," Solomon shouted. "You've been disrespectful to Candy, you've been talking behind her back, and now look at what you've done. You've forced me to choose between you and her, and you know I won't let that happen again." His mother's face turned pale. "Solomon, I only want what's best for you. I never meant to hurt you or Candy." Solomon wasn't listening. He was too angry, too upset to hear her. "You always do this. You've always tried to control everything in my life. You pushed Patience out of this house, and now you're doing the same thing to Candy." He threw his hands up in frustration. "I won't let you do it again, Mother. You're the one who caused all of this." Without warning, Solomon turned around and grabbed his mother's arm, pushing her toward the door. "Leave. You're not welcome here anymore. I don't want to see you near Candy again," he shouted. His mother's eyes filled with tears as she tried to pull away. "Solomon, please. I'm your mother. I have always wanted the best for you." But Solomon wouldn't listen. His face was twisted with anger and hurt. "You've done enough damage, Mother. I have made my decision. Candy is my future, and you need to leave." He shoved her out the door, and his mother stumbled, falling onto the cold ground outside. She sat there shocked, tears streaming down her face. She had never imagined that her own son would push her away like this, not for Candy, a woman she thought was the best for him. As she sat on the ground, her heart ached with regret. She had never wanted things to get this bad, but now as she watched Solomon slam the door in her face, she knew that there was no turning back. She had lost him. Inside the house, Candy had been listening from the hallway. She heard the shouting, the insults, and the door slam. When Solomon returned to the living room, she was already waiting, sitting on the couch with a smile on her face. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice dripping with sweetness. Solomon, still fuming with anger, looked at her. "I can't believe what I just did. I pushed my own mother out of the house because of you." Candy stood up and walked toward him. "Well, it's about time you made a decision," she said smoothly. "Now we can move forward without anyone trying to control us." Solomon, exhausted and defeated, nodded. "Yeah, I guess you're right," he muttered. He didn't know why he was feeling so empty, but something inside of him felt off. A few days later, Solomon came home after a long day at work, his mind still heavy with the events of the past week. As he walked into the house, he found Candy sitting on the couch, her eyes glued to her phone, fingers scrolling rapidly across the screen. She didn't even look up as he entered. "Where's my food?" Solomon asked, his voice tired but edged with frustration. Candy didn't even glance up. "You can cook it yourself," she said casually, tapping away on her phone. "I have had a busy day too, you know." Solomon's temper flared. "Are you serious? I've been out working all day, and you're sitting here scrolling through your phone instead of taking care of the house. You can't even cook? I've asked you 100 times to help around here, and you don't do anything." Candy slowly looked up from her phone, her eyes narrowing. "Oh, you think you're the only one working hard? I've been doing things around here too, and besides, you know exactly how I like to spend my time. It's not like you don't benefit from it, right?" Solomon's patience wore thin. "You've been sitting around all day, doing nothing but talking to your friends online. I'm the one who goes to work to bring in money. I'm the one who does everything, and you sit around expecting me to cater to you like some kind of fool." Candy looked up at him. "You're foolish, Solomon. If you want food, go make it yourself." "I'm not your servant," she said. Solomon was angry. "Candy, I'm tired. I've been working hard all day, and you can't even do something simple like cooking. This is not how it's supposed to be." Candy stood up slowly, a smile on her face. "Fine, Solomon. If you're not happy, maybe I should leave. I give you every sweetness you want in bed, don't I? You know how much you like that." Solomon was even more frustrated. "Is that all you think you do for me?" he said, shaking his head. "I need more than that. I need you to help, to share things with me." Candy paused and looked at him. Okay, I'm sorry," she said. "I will do better. I just don't feel like I have to do everything, you know?" Solomon ran a hand through his hair. He was tired and his patience was running thin. "Look, I don't want to argue about this anymore. I'm sorry I got angry. But I don't expect to come home every day and find you doing nothing while I work all day. I'll cook today." "But this better not happen again," he said firmly, turning toward the kitchen. Candy watched him for a moment, then grinned. "That's my boy," she said, as if everything was now fine. "Good boy." Months passed, and with all the big contracts Patience was getting, her life was changing for the better. She had worked hard, and now she was reaping the rewards. She had saved enough money to buy a comfortable house in a peaceful neighborhood. It wasn't just a home, it was a place where her daughters could grow up happily. The house was spacious with a beautiful garden and a cozy living room. Patience's business was booming. She had moved into a larger restaurant and expanded her catering services. More people were coming to her for her delicious meals. Patience felt proud of what she had built. It had been a long journey, but now she was in control of her life. Her restaurant was one of the best in town, and people loved the food she served. She could finally see the fruits of her hard work. She never forgot Mrs. Johnson, the woman who had helped her so much. Patience called her one day to thank her for everything she had done. "Mrs. Johnson, I just want to say thank you. Without you, I don't know where I would be. You helped me when I had nothing, and I will always be grateful," Patience said. Mrs. Johnson smiled over the phone. "You deserve all the success, Patience. You worked hard for it. I'm proud of you," she said. A few days later, Patience's phone rang. She picked it up, and to her surprise, it was Solomon's mother. Her voice trembled on the other end. "Patience, it's me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I've been thinking about everything, and I know I treated you badly. I regret what I did. Please, can you forgive me?" Patience paused. She had never expected to hear those words. Solomon's mother had been cruel to her when she was married to Solomon. But now Patience had found peace in her life, and she wasn't angry anymore. Still, it was a hard choice. With a calm voice, Patience replied, "I've forgiven you, but I can't forget the things that happened. I've moved on with my life, and I'm doing well. I wish you all the best, but I can't help you with everything you want." Solomon's mother didn't respond right away. "I understand," she said softly. "Can I see my granddaughters at least? I've missed them so much." Patience's heart softened, but she shook her head, even though Solomon's mother couldn't see her. "I'm sorry, but no. It's better this way. I have to protect my girls. Maybe someday, but not now," Patience said. She could hear Solomon's mother sigh on the other end of the line. "I understand," she said again. "Thank you for hearing me out, Patience." Without saying another word, Patience hung up the phone. As she sat there, she thought about everything she had been through. It hadn't been easy, but she had survived. Now she was stronger than ever. She had a successful business, a beautiful home, and her 2 lovely daughters. Patience smiled, feeling proud of how far she had come. One day Solomon came back from work, clearly frustrated. As soon as he stepped inside the house, he began shouting, "Look at this place. The house is a mess. You don't cook or clean, and I'm getting tired of doing everything myself. I'm always cooking, buying fast food. I can't keep doing this, Candy." Candy, who was sitting on the couch, looked up at him, clearly annoyed but not saying much. Solomon was getting angrier by the second. He couldn't hold back anymore. "I've had enough. I'm hosting some business partners this weekend, and I expect you to cook for them. They are important people, Candy. Don't embarrass me." Candy reluctantly sighed. "Fine, I'll do it," she said, not looking up from her phone. She was tired of the constant complaints, but didn't want to make things worse. "But you better not expect me to do everything," she muttered under her breath. Solomon, still angry, shook his head. "It's not about doing everything, Candy. It's about contributing. You don't even help around here. I'm the one who does all the work. You can at least cook for one day for my business partners." Candy stood up and threw her phone down, facing him. "I will do it, but I'm not doing it with a smile on my face. You don't even appreciate what I do for you in bed." Solomon didn't respond. He just walked away, leaving Candy feeling both frustrated and helpless. She knew he was upset, but she didn't feel like he understood how much she was already doing, or how much she was giving up. Still, she had no choice. She had to cook, even if it meant doing it reluctantly. The weekend came and Candy started preparing for the event. She was determined to make the food taste good, but deep down she felt resentment building. She was tired of trying to live up to Solomon's high expectations. Candy stood in the kitchen, stirring the food with a heavy heart. She had been up all morning preparing, but as she tasted the dish, she frowned. It didn't taste right. It was bland, not what she had hoped for. Solomon's business partners were arriving soon, and the pressure was on. She needed everything to go perfectly, but the taste just wasn't right. After thinking for a moment, she decided to fix it her way. She added a generous amount of sugar and honey, hoping it would sweeten things up. She stirred it in, feeling a sense of satisfaction, but deep down, she knew it wasn't the right way to do things. Still, she convinced herself that it would be fine. When the guests arrived, Candy greeted them with a bright smile, trying to keep her composure. The room filled with chatter and laughter, but she couldn't shake the feeling of anxiety. She served the food, watching closely as the guests tasted it. The moment their faces twisted in disgust, Candy's heart sank. One of the guests put his fork down and looked at Solomon, saying, "This is not what we feed Solomon when we host him. What is this?" The other guests murmured in agreement, clearly disappointed. Solomon's face turned red with embarrassment, his eyes darting around the room, trying to avoid the awkwardness. He stood up, his anger bubbling over. "What is this?" Solomon shouted, storming into the kitchen. "Why did you ruin everything? You know how important this meeting is. What is wrong with you, Candy?" Candy, who had been standing quietly, feeling humiliated, couldn't take it anymore. She spun around to face him, her eyes blazing. "Oh, so now you blame me for everything. You wanted me to cook, didn't you? You wanted me to live up to your standards, and look where we are now. Maybe you should have just done it yourself." Solomon clenched his fists in fury. "You're so useless, you can't even cook right. You ruined everything," he yelled, his voice filled with rage. "You are leaving my house this minute." Candy's anger flared up. "Oh, so now you want to kick me out, after everything I've done for you? Is that how you repay me? You want me to leave with all my sweetness, huh?" Solomon sneered, his patience running thin. "To hell with you and your sweetness. I don't care any more, Candy. Just leave. I'm done." Candy stared at him, her heart heavy with the realization of how far they had fallen. Her eyes filled with tears as Solomon pushed past her, going to the door. He grabbed her things from the bedroom, throwing them out with no care, his anger blinding him to everything else. "You're out," Solomon said, his voice cold and unforgiving. "I never wanted this. I can't take you anymore." Candy stood there stunned, watching him throw her things onto the ground. There was no fight left in her. She gathered her belongings, feeling the weight of everything crashing down on her. She had nothing left here. She looked at Solomon one last time, but he didn't look back. With a heavy heart, she left, walking out into the night without a word. Her once comfortable life was now shattered. She had no choice but to leave the house that had once been her home, feeling abandoned and heartbroken. As the door slammed shut behind her, Solomon stood in the middle of the living room, his heart pounding in his chest. His anger began to fade, replaced by a deep sense of regret. He sank onto the couch, his eyes filled with tears, realizing what he had done. He had lost Patience, the one person who had ever truly cared for him. "I've messed up," Solomon whispered to himself, his voice shaking. "I've lost everything." He sat there, staring at the empty space around him, crying, wishing he could take back every harsh word and action, but it was too late. Solomon, feeling desperate and broken, decided to reach out to Mrs. Johnson, hoping that she might help him fix the mess he had made. He knew it was his last chance to try and make things right with Patience. With shaky hands, he dialed her number, praying she would pick up. When the phone rang, his heart pounded in his chest. After a few moments, Mrs. Johnson answered the phone. "Hello?" she said, her voice cold and distant. "Mrs. Johnson, it's Solomon," he said, his voice full of regret. "Please, I need your help. I've messed up. I'm begging you. Can you send me Patience's address? I need to apologize to her. I know I have wronged her, but please, I want to make things right." Mrs. Johnson was silent for a moment, and Solomon could feel the tension on the other end of the line. Then, with a sharp laugh, Mrs. Johnson spoke. "You really think I'm going to help you now, Solomon?" she said, her voice filled with so much anger. "After everything you've done to her, you think you can just apologize and everything will be fine? You've shown your true colors. Patience doesn't deserve a man like you." Solomon's heart sank, but he pressed on. I know I made mistakes. I was wrong, and I regret everything. Please, just give me a chance to fix this. Please, just tell me where she is. I will do anything." But Mrs. Johnson's patience had run out. "You want her address? I'll tell you this. You don't deserve to know where she is. You've treated her badly, and now you want to play the hero. You've ruined everything, Solomon. I hope you learn from your mistakes, but don't think you're going to fix things by begging me for her address." Solomon tried to speak, but Mrs. Johnson wasn't done. "You're a fool, Solomon. You don't deserve her. Now I'm done with this conversation. Don't call me again. Goodbye." Before Solomon could say anything else, Mrs. Johnson hung up, leaving him alone with his thoughts. His mind was spinning, and he felt more lost than ever. He had hoped for some kind of forgiveness, but now it seemed even more distant than before. Solomon sat in his empty living room, staring at his phone. His palms were sweaty, and his heart raced as he mustered the courage to call Patience. For weeks, guilt had eaten away at him. He knew he had been wrong, but this call felt like his last shot at redemption. Finally, with a shaky breath, he dialed her number. The phone rang, and each second felt like a lifetime. When Patience answered, her voice was calm, confident, a tone Solomon hadn't heard in years. "Hello," she said, her tone cautious. "Patience," Solomon began, his voice trembling. "It's me. Solomon, please don't hang up. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything, for the way I treated you, for the pain I caused. I don't know what I was thinking. I've lost everything. and I realize now that you were the best thing that ever happened to me." There was a pause, and Solomon could hear Patience take a deep breath before she responded. "Solomon," she said, her voice steady but firm, "I have waited so long to hear you say those words. But do you know what? It's too late. Your apology doesn't change the years of pain, the insults, or the betrayal. When you chased me and my daughters out of your house, I thought my life was over. I cried every night, wondering how I would survive, but now I thank you for throwing us out. If you hadn't, I wouldn't be where I am today." Her words cut deep, but what she said next stunned him. "Do you know why I'm truly grateful?" she continued. "Because I found someone, a man who loves me for who I am, someone who respects me and my daughters. Solomon, I'm getting married in a few weeks." Solomon's heart stopped. "What? A man? You're getting married?" he stammered, his voice rising in disbelief. "Yes," Patience said firmly. "He treats me like a queen, something you never did, and he loves my daughters as if they were his own. I have finally found happiness, Solomon, and I owe it to the pain you put me through. So thank you for showing me what I truly deserve." "Patience, wait," Solomon pleaded, his voice breaking. "Please, I was wrong. I've changed. I can be better. Please don't do this. Don't marry him. Give me another chance." But Patience only laughed, a soft, sad laugh filled with years of pent-up pain and resilience. "You had your chance, Solomon, and you threw it away. I'm happy now, and I won't let you ruin that. Do not call me again. Goodbye." Before Solomon could respond, the line went dead. He stared at his phone, his mind reeling. She was gone, truly gone. The reality hit him like a tidal wave. He had lost her forever. In his frustration, Solomon threw his phone across the room, shattering it against the wall. His hands trembled with anger, and his chest heaved. His world was collapsing around him, and he didn't know who to blame. Until his mind turned to his mother. Grabbing his car keys, he drove to her house, his anger boiling over. When she opened the door, she barely had time to greet him before he stormed inside. "This is all your fault," Solomon shouted, his voice echoing through the house. "You poisoned my mind against Patience. You pushed me to treat her like dirt. Now she's gone and she's marrying someone else. Are you happy now? Are you satisfied?" His mother, startled by his outburst, quickly regained her composure. "Don't you dare blame me for your failures," she snapped back. "You are a grown man, Solomon. You made your own choices. If you weren't man enough to keep your wife, that's on you. Don't put this on me." "You ruined my life," Solomon shouted, his face red with fury. "It shall never be well with you. You destroyed everything." His mother's eyes blazed with anger. "How dare you talk to me like that?" she spat. "You're nothing but a foolish, spineless man. You let a good woman slip through your fingers, and now you're looking for someone to blame. Look in the mirror, Solomon. This is all on you." Solomon stood there, seething with rage, but her words hit a nerve. He had no comeback, no defense. Defeated, he stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. As he drove back to his empty house, the weight of his mistakes pressed down on him like never before. He had lost everything, his wife, his daughters, his respect, and now even his mother had turned against him. Sitting alone in his living room, Solomon buried his face in his hands and wept, knowing that he had no one to blame but himself. This story teaches us the importance of treating our loved ones with respect and kindness. It shows how toxic behavior and poor decisions can destroy relationships, while perseverance and self-respect can lead to triumph. Patience's journey reminds us that challenges can become stepping stones to success if we remain strong and focused. It also highlights the need to set boundaries, value oneself, and never let anyone dim your light. True love is built on mutual respect, not manipulation or control, and those who fail to value others may end up regretting it when it's too late. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications for more inspiring tales. Stay blessed, and thank you for your support.